Hey, what's going on, everybody? All right, I want to do a beginner lesson, and this is going to talk about one of the bigger problems that I see in all of my beginner students that are progressing a little bit. You know, we have a few lessons under our belts, maybe even a couple chords going or some tabs, whatever it is. The main issue that I've seen that I finally figured out with a student earlier today, how to help fix this issue, is this kind of thought of over preparing or being overly cautious. So what I get, if I just take a regular G to D chord, it's a lot of kind of looking over, making sure everything's set, looking down here, okay, good. You know, whatever the strumming is, looking over here, always pulling back up to what I call like neutral, rather than keeping your hands down, you know, just because like that's what we're used to, is back here, kind of stage one. Get everything down, up, do another double look down here, another look. All right, we're good. Give it, you know, and I realized what's happening is a lack of control, and that lack of control really is going to fix itself the more and more you guys play. What is also showing that or bringing that lack of control out is not cutting down on the amount of motion, which is something that I talk about with my more advanced students, my faster students. We're always trying to kind of cut down on their range of motion. All right, and you can see that here if I were to do like some really fast picking, you know, and even some exercises here. I never really thought to do that because some of those exercises and those concepts are a little bit difficult, but we can do it. So let's just take something as simple as a G to a D chord. Now, what I want you guys to do, what's going to help cut down on this range of motion is using excessive musculature, which we're all doing. We're all so used to, whether it's like grabbing a baseball bat or a hammer, that is how we're used to using our hands. Now we have to like move our hands in a completely different way while also being relaxed, okay? So step one right here is if you're doing your chords, or I don't always teach this to my beginner students, but just doing, I start up here on the 5th fret or even the 7th fret and just do a 1, 2, 3, 4 exercise and just go nice and light. All right, just like that. Now, if you're doing that or your chords, what I want you to do is play with this hand incredibly light. It's going to do two things. Number one is it's going to cut down on this range of motion. If you watch, if I'm picking right here, right, just like that, that's going to take huge swings. If I play light, it's going to help me immediately cut down on that range of motion. That is also going to train the muscles that can control that range of motion, that smaller one, and be able to make eventually that louder, but just to gain control over those smaller muscle groups. So whether you're doing that or your chords, nice and light, just like we're doing here. Now the other thing that is going to help with is once this hand relaxes, this one will as well. So when we're switching from G to D, if this hand is relaxed, it's not squeezing, it's not going to get tired, which means it doesn't need to pop all the way up here between chords. All right, so now let's just focus on this hand. If I were to play that, one little difficult thing that I do, it's still a beginner exercise, but moving along a little bit, is my G. If I leave, because I'm going to play my G with both my pinky on the 3rd fret of the bottom string, and then my 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string. All right, so I got both of those 3s down there. I'm going to try to leave my 3rd finger down the whole time while I'm switching between those two chords. All right, that is essentially the cutting too much motion out and jumping up here. Now, that does get a little bit difficult. It's hard to move all of our fingers around one finger if we're not used to doing it. So a really interesting other way that we were fixing it with one of my students was whatever chord, now this will work with whatever chord we're doing, is not letting your fingers off. So if I'm going to a C, if I'm going to a D, and it's just dragging your fingers over the strings. It seems useless, it seems stupid, but it will help you control keeping your hands down and not always popping up. It's also, when you're thinking of this, it's going to have you mentally be thinking of not pulling your fingers all the way up. For you guys that are progressing a little further than that, another exercise that I love to do, nice and lightly here, if I do my 1, 2, 3, 4 exercises, I do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I don't move the next finger until it's ready. That also trains your fingers to stay low and right over the fretboard, because when we're doing those exercises, this will happen. Just lift up, way up, all of the fingers that are not being used, and that is exactly what we want to get away from. Now that's still, in the beginning, is going to build a little bit of dexterity, build a little bit of strength, so it does have its uses, but definitely trying to keep, now if you're doing that, getting out of the way of those fingers that are on the string above is incredibly difficult. Also, to hold your fingers down, you're gonna be squeezing way harder than you should be, just to like use all your muscles to keep the fingers down. So I do wanna make sure that you're doing it very, very lightly to try to relax as much as you possibly can. All right, so those are the major issues that I'm seeing in all of my beginner students after the usual ones like thumb positioning and things like that. So I do hope that video helps you guys. Let me know, and I will see you tomorrow.